Welcome to this topic's video here where I'm going to take this nape item, which is a trig function item, and it just asks which of the following trig functions has the properties given above. So which of these has an amplitude of 2 and a period of 2 pi over 3. So in this video I'm going to show you how I made this GeoGebra app, which is a trig function evaluator. You have your three trig functions here and the parameters that affect our equation. And so in this nape item here, if we were to model this with my app, these are all cosine, so we're going to make sure we have cosine amplitude 2, period is 2 pi over 3. So all we have to do then is show the cosine function. I'm going to set my amplitude, which is my a variable, to 2. And I'm going to set my period to 2 pi over 3, which I have a slider, which is just going to jump by a half. Or if we have a radian in terms of pi period to put in here, we can do that as well, which is going to be 3 times, and then for pi you just type pi. GeoGebra knows that that is pi divided by 2. So when we hit enter, oh, did I have that backwards? I think it's 2 pi over 3. So my bad, it's 2 times pi divided by 3. And hit enter. And now we can see the graph of the function here. There is no horizontal or vertical shift. So here's our equation. It's going to be the 2 cosine of 3x. Okay, so then we can map that. But I mean, a bigger picture would be how we can check parameters of trig functions and see what they do to the graph. We can change the period around. We could also shift graphs horizontally. We can shift graphs vertically. Okay, so let me show you how we make that. This app is attached to the topic, so if you want to just use this, then have fun with it. But if you're curious about GeoGebra, and I'll show you how the sliders for our parameters affect the function, and then also how we make these checkboxes to show if we don't want, say, cosine, we can do sine, and we can do tangent, and we can do all of them and compare. Okay. So I'm going to go file new here, and we're going to start from scratch. So the idea here is that in a trig function you have 4 parameters. That's why I had 4 sliders, right? So for each parameter we're going to create a slider, and then I'll do color changing later. So the amplitude, we can set our min and max to whatever we want, maybe from -10 to 10, jumping by a half, for instance. Okay, so click apply. There's that slider. That's my amplitude. The period, I'm going to call it P for period. It's going to go starting at 0 and just give it a max value, say, of 20. And then the period can be, typically we'll see a bunch of radians and pi's. So we want to create a little input box here. So in the slider toolbox, click on input box, and so I'm just going to click underneath my slider. So we're going to put a little caption here. So I want this to look like the input box here, where it's going to say P is equal to, and then we can input a value, which then we can take some trig expressions with radian in there. So I want this to be P equals, and then link object. It's going to link that P value that we have, and I'm going to click apply. So now we can change the value of P if we slide P around, or if we wanted to, like that 2 times pi divided by 3, okay, and hit enter. It's going to give us a rounded value, the estimated value with pi in there. I don't know a workaround to have it show the actual pi expression. If you wanted to, you can go to your options and go to rounding, and we can round to, say, 15 decimal places, where at least we can see more of an approximated value for our pi terms. But anyways, we have our amplitude, we have our period. Now we just need a slider for, I'm going to grab my slider here, for the horizontal shift, which we're calling H. It's going to go from -10 to 10, jump by a half, and then we're going to do our K, which will be our vertical translation. So -10 to 10, jumping by a half. Okay, so there's our four parameters. Now we have three trig functions to graph. So let's do some check boxes here. So I'm going to grab my checkbox tool, and I'm just going to click somewhere up in the screen here. This first caption will be sine function. Okay, so there's nothing really to check with this box here. We're just going to make the checkbox and have them ready to go. So I need another checkbox for the cosine function, and a third checkbox for the tangent function. Okay, now each of these checkboxes are what are called Boolean values. They're just going to return a true or a false. So if the box is checked, the function, so if I hover over a sine function, notice my algebra window, b is the variable assigned to this checkbox, so b is either going to be true or false. So when I uncheck it, it turns to false. And we're going to use that true and false value to hide and show certain objects. Okay, so now we need our axes, and you can put your grid lines up if you wanted to. In Trig world here, we may want our x-axis to be in terms of pi. So to do that, I'm just going to right-click in my graphics window somewhere, go to my graphics settings. I'm going to click on x-axis, and now where it says distance, I'm going to click that checkbox, and then I'm going to go over here and change this to pi over 2. So now, I'm going to exit out of this window. Now our x-axis is in terms of pi, which is nice. So let's go ahead now and create some functions for each of these. So the first thing I'm going to do is just say f of x in my input bar. F of x equals our parameter a times, since this is sine, I'm going to just say sin, and then I'm going to use parentheses. Now in our trig function, we always have our 2 pi divided by our period, which is our frequency of the function. So we're going to take sine of 2 times pi, and I'm going to divide it by the period. So that'll give us our frequency. Okay, and then we just have that times x minus h, and then plus k at the end here. So the 2 times pi divided by our period will give us frequency times x in our function. The minus h is for the horizontal translation, plus k is for vertical. So if I hit enter, we get a curve here. To see if we're right, let's set our parameters. Let's make our vertical translation 0. So set k to 0. Horizontal translation to 0, which 2 is going to need its own checkbox, because sometimes we want to translate horizontally by an angle in radians, which will be pi as well. So to do that real quick, I'm going to grab my input box again, click underneath the slider, and I'm just going to say h is equal to, that'll be the caption, and we're going to link this input box to h. Okay, so now we can set h to whatever we want. If you want to move sliders around in GeoGebra, you need to have the slider tool selected, and then you can move sliders around. Okay, and so we got our horizontal vertical translations to 0. Let's set our period to 1, and amplitude is 1. Actually, we'll set our period to 2 pi. And see if we get our normal curve. So we should just have this baby starting at 0. This seems like a nice cosine function, so we know that we entered it correctly. So the last thing that I want to do, and then we'll add some color, is that we want to show what the function is with our parameters up here. So that's just a text box. So I'm going to grab my text tool. I'm going to click in front of sine function here. And now I'm going to click let text formula. Gives it that nice font. Basically, does a lot more stuff, but anyways, I'm going to just call this f of x is equal to, now if I want to show the value of these sliders, I'm going to click on the actual, I want a to show first, so I'm going to click on a over my algebra window, and it creates a little formula box, and it'll, in the box will actually calculate numbers. So right now, since a is in our box and it's just showing the value of a, it's 1. So outside of the box, so I'm going to type sine, parentheses. Inside, I want it to actually calculate the frequency for us. So I'm going to click P because that's the variable that deals with frequency. I'm going to click in this little formula box and put the cursor in front of it because I'm going to put 2 times pi divided by P. And notice now that created our frequency value here of 1. So I'm going to say times x outside of the box minus what h is. So I want h to show its value, so I'm going to click on h. And my parenthesis outside of the box plus k, and we want to show k's value, so I'm going to click on k. So each little formula box is going to have our parameters in it, and this one, frequency, we did a little calculation to find that based off our period. Okay, so now I'm going to click OK. If you want to change the size and font and color and all that, you just click on the text box. You can change its size. You can make it bold if you want to, and you can change its color. Okay, so sine is done. We've got the function, the graph shown, and the equation based off of our parameters. So now what we want to do is set a condition to show the function and its graph when the sine box is checked. So notice when you hover over, this is Boolean value b. So I'm going to, with my move tool selected, the arrow tool, I'm going to click on my equation. I'm going to hold control down and I'm going to click on my graph, and it should have both the text box and the graph selected. Then I'm going to right click one of them, go to object properties, and we have limited options because we have 2 different objects selected, but in the advanced tab you see condition to show object, and I'm just going to click or type B in that box and hit enter. So now because we had the graph and the text both highlighted, now they both have the condition to be. So if the sine function is selected, B is true. If we uncheck it, notice they go away. So now I'm just going to hide these. And then we're going to do the same thing for cosine. So we already have f defined. So now my next function in the input bar, I'm going to go g of x is equal to a times the cosine, parentheses, of 2 times pi divided by p times x minus h, and then outside of parentheses plus k. There's our general formula. Because of our parameters that we didn't move, this should be the nice basic sine curve, which it is. So we know that we've got the right curve here. And then grab our text box. In front of cosine, we're going to create that dynamic text. So again, I'm just going to type g of x. Oops, I'm going to have the text checked here. G of x equals a, so I'm going to click on a. Outside the box have cosine, parenthesis. We'll have it calculate our frequency, so I'm going to click on my period, go into the formula box, and make it 2 times pi divided by the period, which is frequency, times x minus h, and my parenthesis plus k. So I'm going to check k. Alright, and that looks good. So now notice this cosine checkbox is Boolean value c. So just like before, I'm going to click on the text, hold control down, I'm going to click on my graph, right click, go to object properties, the condition to show, we're going to put c in for the condition and hit enter. And now those are assigned to the cosine. So we've got sine, we've got cosine. Last thing we need to do then is make our tangent. So I'm going to just do a different function, which I already have an h variable assigned, and I don't know if GeoGebra wants me to call another function h. So just to make sure, I'm just going to pick another variable like m of x. We'll define is going to equal our amplitude times the tangent, so tan. The period of tangent is pi, so we don't have 2 pi over, or to find the frequency of tangent, we use pi divided by our period instead of 2 pi. So I'll just make sure that we have pi divided by our p times x minus h plus k. Hit enter. There is our basic tangent function. Okay, and then the last thing that we need to do then is create our text box to show the equation. So I'm just going to say m of x is equal to a times the tangent, I have the text selected here, a times the tangent of our frequency, which is going to involve our p, and it's just pi this time divided by p, times x minus h plus k. Alright, there's our formulas, and there's our, I don't have anything tied to the tangent Boolean here, so that's D. So I'm going to click the text, hold control, object properties, and then our condition, they are conditioned to D now. So there is our checkboxes and our 3 different kinds of trig functions. So now it just comes to color coordination if you want to. So maybe the tangent, I'm going to just right click one of the objects, go to object properties so I can get this preference window to come up. Because now if I could just click on the Boolean, I can change, oh, I got to click on it here in the algebra window. I can change its color. Maybe I want tangent stuff to be purple. So then this equation then is also tangent stuff, so it's going to be purple. And then the function is tangent, and I want it to be purple. So now I can go to C, which is now the cosine, and let's make it a different color. Make it maybe blue. Maybe make its equation blue, and its graph blue. And then the last one is sine. So let this be maybe red, red, and red. There we go. So we got those color coordinated. If you want to do your sliders, you can do it here too. Just click on the slider, and we'll make this one say maybe green. Make the period maybe orange. Make this input box here also the same orange. Make the H blue, and then the K say red. And there is our app. So now we can show any trig function we want and take the extension from there. So I hope that made sense to you guys. Good luck with that. Thank you.